I told myself I was organized. I had color codes, I had labels, I had folders within folders within folders within folders. But the truth is that I was managing my systems more than I was running my business. Organization isn't how many places you store things, it's how fast you can find them, use them, and move on. A system that literally requires you to remember which of the 7 tools hold which kind of information. It is not a system, it is a memory exercise. Last week, we talked about auditing the system you already have. This week, I want to go one level deeper because the audit reveals something that I wasn't even expecting when I was running it quarterly and now monthly. I used to have 7 different systems running at the same time for just one specific area inside of my business. And it can look something like Notion for content, Asana for client projects, Google Drive for assets, Slack for communication, a physical planner for my personal life, a separate calendar for content. And there were so many different moving parts, and trying to track every single thing become very overwhelming. And every single morning when I want to sit down to actually work, I will find that I was drained before I even started because it was too many systems and me trying to figure out where to start. That thinking alone became very overwhelming, and it was not working because I just deciding where to work, and that simply was not working. So I told myself I was organized. I had color codes, I had labels, I had folders within folders within folders within folders. But the truth is that I was managing my systems more than I was running my business. Now, here's the thing, I coach my clients on having good systems in place, and I always ask them this question. If you had to hand your business over to someone tomorrow, would they know how to function? Would they know where to start? And interestingly enough, when I'm talking to my clients, a lot of times as creators and builders, when we are building out for other people, we make sure to get them right. But within our own business, we do not practice the same thing. And that is the truth about it. If nobody says it, that is the truth. And so while I was working with that client that day, and I told them that specific note, like, yeah, when you hand over your business or you bring a VA in, can they pick up and can they learn what you already have? And my client was like shocked because they never thought about their business in that way. But also later that evening, that same conversation kind of stuck with me. And I had to ask myself that question. And I had nothing myself. That was the moment I realized I didn't have a system. I had just had a collection. And I used to term it as organized chaos. And organized chaos is no organization and no system whatsoever. And the thing is that a lot of us, as entrepreneurs and online business owners, believe is that the more organized your systems, the more organized your business. But the reality of it is that organization isn't how many places you store things, it's how fast you can find them, use them, and move on. A system that literally requires you to remember which of the 7 tools hold which kind of information. It is not a system, it is a memory exercise. And listen, we have a lot going on in our memories. And so this is just additional burden and stress that overwhelms us. The most productive creators I know don't have the most tools, they have the fewest, and they know exactly where everything lives. When you have one centralized location for your creative business, one place for your ideas, one place for your projects, your content, and your plans all live in that one central location, something actually shifts. You stop spending energy navigating and trying to find stuff, and you spend more time creating. And that's basically the difference between a collection and a system. Now, the first thing I want you to do, ask yourself, where does all your unfinished ideas live? Every podcast idea, every content concept, every half formed thought, does it go into one place? Not it residing one set in notes, one set in your voice memos, one set written somewhere in a notebook. Where exactly is it? Now, here's the thing that I have been practicing every single day inside of my Apple ecosystem. So, if you follow me on YouTube, at Elesha Naomi, you know I have built my entire content workflow inside of the Apple ecosystem because I use all of the devices, right? And so I place all of my ideas inside what I call my idea garden or my idea hub. And this is where ideas are not organized. They're just a singular place where it captures ideas and nothing else. It's not spread across different things. In that one place, I'm able to do voice memos. I'm able to do screenshots. I'm able to do my links. And that is basically Apple Notes. Okay. So that is where all of my ideas reside. You need to pick one tool, whether that's Notion, Apple Notes, or a physical notebook, and name it your idea garden. Move everything there. The next workspace you should curate is for your current projects. This is the only zone that changes regularly and it's going to actually hold what you're currently working on right now. Whether it's your videos or episodes that you're recording and editing this week, the client deliverables that may be due on Friday, the launch that is happening this month. The main rule of thumb here is that nothing enters the active workspace that isn't happening. I wouldn't say in the next 30 days. I'm a little more realistic and put maybe happening in the next 10 or 15 days. Everything else stays in the ID zone, but it will only move into my active workspace once I'm focusing and working on that specific thing this week and it's due this week, or if I need to move it from to the another work zone where it's completed. So here's what I want you to do currently. I want you to look at what's inside your current workspace, whether it's digital or physical. Anything that is not active in the next 30 days or the next 15 days, move it out. Don't make excuses for it. The next zone, and I know this is a area that a lot of us as entrepreneurs do not practice, which is called archiving. And this is a practice that usually takes place as someone who ran an IT department. We had to archive data every single month, and there were always multiple copies of the data on site and off site. So, the archive, I want you to think of it as a place where everything that is finished actually lives, whether it's the completed videos that have been published, plus client work, or old content, references, documents, and all those things. Everything that has been published or submitted, I want you to find a designated place where you store that. Now, we know that storage is becoming increasingly expensive and especially with cloud storage. And so having physical copies, maybe on an external solid state hard drive or within the cloud, those are your two places where you have two archive copies. So just in case you don't have access to your cloud, you can access it on the SSD. If you don't have access to your SSD and you're on the go and you have internet access and you want to access it through the cloud, you can do so. So get in the practice of having two working copies, one physical and one in the cloud. So you know exactly where you need to get it. And if you have to reference it back, there is always a place where you know that you can go. Now, the archive is going to be organized because unlike your ID hub, where everything is unorganized, unpolished, your archive already have unfinished work. So it's going to be easier for you to find it, and you create simple folders by category and date. And so you're able to identify things very easily. For example, for me, when it comes to me archiving, I do have a Knowledge Solid State. This is where I do all my backup on, and this is a 4 terabyte. So it's color coded. It's folder organized in terms of podcasts, business. It's was it podcast, business, and YouTube. And so inside of those folders, I do have other subfolders, but creating simple folder structures is what's going to help you to keep it organized. You don't have to have an elaborate tagging system. You don't need to have nested folders. The main thing is this: if you're going to have nested folders, make sure your naming convention is good and you're able to easily go and find it 5 years or 2 years from the date you have archived. So I want you to create your 3 folders for your archive. Do one for content, one for client work, and one for reference. Anything that is completely completed, move those into one of them, and that is it. Keep it simple and keep it moving. So in this case, you have one simple system, 3 different areas of work, one home for your entire creative business. The tool doesn't matter as much as the commitment to just using one. For me, I choose the Apple ecosystem. For you, it might be something else. You may choose to work with Notion primarily and Google Drive. Again, the tool does not matter. The principle of it is the commitment to just having one dedicated thing doing one specific job. I want to say something that might feel counterintuitive coming from a person who talks about systems and implementing systems. Simplicity is a practice. When I finally collapsed my entire back end and stopped using 7 tools and just simplify it into everyday tools that are available on my different devices, is when I stopped managing the infrastructure of my business and start actually building it. I felt something I was not expecting: a piece when it comes to running my business, when it comes to doing content and repeating this every single week. Not the kind of piece you manufactured by getting everything done, but the kind that comes when you stop fighting against yourself. And a lot of times, our systems are a reflection of how we manage everyday life. And when I'm approaching systems, and my simplicity of systems now is rooted in Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2, when it says, write the vision and make it plain, not complicated, not extremely color coded, not super organized, not having 7 different tools and multiple different platforms. Plain. I think there's wisdom in that for how we build our creative lives. When your systems are simple enough that you can actually use them, something unexpected happens. You start trusting yourself again because the information where you said it would be, the project is where you left it, the idea is where you capture it. Okay. And that's not just good productivity, that's integrity with yourself. And when you operate from that kind of internal order, when your outer life reflects your inner clarity, the work flows differently. And I'm a testament to that in the last year, going into year 2 of really like just simplifying my systems. So for this week, I want you to ask yourself, what would it feel like to open your computer or go to the space where you create and you work and know exactly where you need to start? What is that one tool that you're going to open that will actually kickstart your creative process? Listen, you don't need another tool. You need one home and the commitment to return to it every single day. The Content Creators Productivity Cheat Sheet walks you through exactly how to set up your single source system in under an hour. It's linked in the show notes and it's free. Download it, get into how you can actually use the tools that are readily available to you, and you can use it this week and let me know how it actually feels. Next week, we are going to be talking about how to build a system that you can actually stick with, because I can give you all the tools that I use. I can give you my routine and my everyday routine and a day in the life of. But at the end of the day, the question you're going to ask yourself, how am I going to create a system and live in that system? Because the number one thing is knowing the system and living in it are two completely different things. And episode 43 is going to bridge that gap. I am Elesha, and this is how we create a flow.